Welcome, everyone. As some countries in the world are still struggling with this tragic COVID-19 pandemic, and others are recovering, but they're still in trauma, it's timely that the topic for this side event during this high-level political forum on sustainable development is building back better after COVID-19 through addressing health equity, mental health and well-being, contributions of psychological science and practice to leave no one behind. I'm your moderator, Dr. Judy Kuriansky. I'm a psychology professor at Columbia University Teachers College, a trustee of the United African Congress, and a representative of the International Association of Applied Psychology, accredited by ECOSOC here at the UN, where I've been advocating about mental health and well-being for many years. The speakers gathered here, you can see this amazing room that you see on your screen, an incredible multi-stakeholder group of experts and people on the ground and representatives of the World Health Organization and many ambassadors and delegates of missions here at the United Nations, all of whom are committed to health equity to build back better from this terrible pandemic. You will hear from all of them, and you will hear from our main sponsor, the Mission of Sierra Leone to the United Nations, and also from our co-sponsoring missions. I'm going to say them in alphabetical order. You see them here in the room, from the UN missions of Bahrain and Canada, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Georgia, Iceland, Japan, Lebanon, Mali, Mexico, Nepal, Portugal, Qatar, and Sweden. We thank them all, as well as our other co-sponsors, the Global NGO Executive Committee and NGOs like mine, the International Association of Applied Psychology, the American Psychological Association, and the United African Congress. The program has three parts. So there's a high-level segment with the intervention of ambassadors and mission representatives and the World Health Organization. Then scientific experts will speak about aspects of health equity, including technology, vaccine access, and attention to migration. And then we'll have voices from the field. These are people who are on the ground doing inspiring projects to reach those furthest behind. So to start with, we're going to play an astounding video, a music video for you of an amazing Sierra Leonean musician, Minister General, that was in a concert as part of the United African Congress project that we're doing called Africa Rise, Healthier and Stronger, to improve the health infrastructure of under-resourced countries. His song, you'll see, captures the sentiments of these terrible times, the needs of the people, but also a wonderful way forward. So take a look.
As I woke up this morning, I asked myself, what are the valuable lessons that I can learn from what's going on in the world today? We have a deadly virus putting everything on pause and dispersing throughout the globe like a wildfire. Meanwhile, quarantine, lockdown, social distancing, no jobs and no schools, anxiety on elevation while solitude is on new adaptation. I'm just here to tell you to hold on, stay in and stay safe. Like MJ, put on your mask and your gloves and let's beat it. Soon we shall overcome and celebrate better days ahead. Please allow me to paint you a brighter picture. Please let me share with you the positive side of the agony that we have been enduring. Ever since the world shut down, we've had less pollution and nature has been flourishing. Ever since Corona started, many nations at war have ceased fire. Now imagine the peace it brought to the heart of children in war zones all across the world. Yemen, South Sudan, Syria, Ukraine, Cameroon, and many other places. Black or white, Buddhist or atheist, harmony in different languages, religion and science. Yes, we can all coexist and express love, cause it's the answer. It's the other way to go. It's the only thing that brings us. It's a beautiful thing that heals us. It's a wonderful thing that takes us higher, brings us closer. Don't deny it, just embrace it. Express it, express it, express it. One love, hey, let it flow across the globe. Hey, one love, hey, let it flow across the globe. Hey, one love. Now when we do go back to school, remember there are kids in other parts of the world who haven't seen a classroom in years due to war or poverty. Now when we do get back to normal, take it easy. Life is not a race. The most important thing is not money. The most important thing is the memories that we create while living. So cherish them. Be compassionate. Treat others with respect. Help someone in need if you can. Now when we do get back to normal, remember to salute a healthcare worker because they are the unsung heroes. Thank you. I'm gonna be a better me and celebrate life. And love is what I'm gonna use to elevate. I promise I'ma shed away the negative weight. World peace, that's all I wanna propagate. It's the only thing that brings us. It's a beautiful thing that heals us. It's a wonderful thing that takes us higher, brings us closer. Don't deny it, just embrace it. Express it. Express it. One love. Let it flow across the globe. One love. Let it flow across the globe. One love.
So on that, I see a lot of smiles. So on that message of the way forward with one love, we now turn to opening remarks from our main sponsor, to whom we're very grateful, the Permanent Mission of the Republic of Sierra Leone to the United Nations, perfectly aligned with our topic of health equity, given the tripartite agenda of President Julius Maada Bio of health and education and development. So warm welcome to you, His Excellency Ali Kaba, Permanent Representative of Sierra Leone to the United Nations. Ambassador Kaba was previously the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and he's taught African American Studies and Political Science at the University of Illinois in Chicago. Special thanks here to the team, Sierra Leone Deputy Permanent Representative Victoria Suleimani and the HLPF expert Aminata Siddiq for all that they've done to support this event, and bless you all. Welcome, Ambassador Kaba.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues out there, standing on existing protocols, I say good day to everyone. It is with great pleasure indeed that I, on behalf of the Permanent Mission of Sierra Leone to the United Nations and our fellow co-organizers, warmly welcome everyone on this virtual platform to this high-level side event. I would like to specifically acknowledge the presence of Her Excellency, the Vice President of Costa Rica, our distinguished co-sponsors, renowned panelists and presenters, many of whom are the drivers of today's event. At this juncture, when the world is still struggling with devastating impact of the pandemic, which has brought untold destruction and suffering to humankind, the importance of our topic of discussion, building back better after COVID-19 through addressing health equity, mental health and well-being, contributions of psychological science and practice to leave no one behind, cannot be overemphasized. We are elated at the level of participation from all sides, co-organizers, panelists, and participants alike. The group assembled here today clearly demonstrates our determination to strengthen global resilience for all of us to sustainably recover from this pandemic by addressing the challenges and solutions to achieve physical and mental health equity, leaving no one behind. Sierra Leone stands in solidarity with those here today and with the rest of the world in our collective resolve to implement the 2030 agenda, especially now, when we are already in the second year of the decade of action. This event today, we are aware, seeks to highlight the interconnectedness between two of the SDGs, namely SDG 3 on healthy life equity between nations, while acknowledging the importance of health equity in the pandemic recovery and the multi-stakeholder partnerships called for in SDG 17, reflected here today. The pandemic has indeed compelled
I think we have,
Seems to be frozen, yeah?
it seems to be frozen. Yeah, I think it's frozen. I'm not sure, yeah.
and
Okay.
therefore we must
Oh,
act
good.
decisively and fast. We must also be mindful of the importance of delivering on mental health and psychosocial support now and in the ongoing post-pandemic era. To do this requires stronger partnerships between member states, United Nations agencies, civil society, the private sector, and all relevant stakeholders. To advance physical and mental health equity, which aligns with addressing poverty in all of its forms and dimensions. The program before us this afternoon gives us confidence, Madam Moderator and distinguished participants, that our discussions will provide in-depth knowledge and inspiration about how we can, through international cooperation and partnership, address the challenges and provide solutions to achieve physical and mental health equity to enable us recover from this COVID-19 pandemic stronger and more united than ever before. In closing, I once again wish on behalf of the Permanent Mission of Sierra Leone to the United Nations and the other distinguished co-sponsoring missions and institutions to warmly welcome you all to this very important event and to wish all of us a very fruitful deliberation. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Kaba, for setting us off on the exact right note of togetherness and working together and commitment that you show. We are very indebted and very grateful to the mission of Sierra Leone. We now turn to a welcome from the Vice President of Costa Rica, Her Excellency Epsi Campbell Barr, Costa Rica's first woman of African descent to become Vice President. And she's a huge supporter of the rights of women and girls. And obviously that's a part of equity that you're going to hear about on her pre-recorded message. The mission of Costa Rica, a co-sponsor of this event, is notably a major supporter of mental health. And as the Vice President, you will hear say, also of rights of peoples of African descent. She's a major expert in the topic of equity, as you will hear in this message.
Queridos amigos y amigas, un cordial saludo desde Costa Rica. Dear friends, greetings from Costa Rica. I'm proud to join from a distance and the voice of my country, Costa Rica, to this collective effort that has in the center the human person. I want to thank the government of Sierra Leone for the invitation. My recognition to all co-sponsors and the distinguished panelists today. Psychosocial well-being, just as physical health, is a human right embedded in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and requires the urgent attention of all of us, governments, the international community, academia, and people themselves. The COVID-19 pandemic disrupted our society and their economies, while it impacts intimate and sensitive fibers of individuals. Unfortunately, care and health workers and other frontline workers have been the first respondents to this crisis and are the first to face it secretly. But the impact of confinement, shutdown measures, and their economic consequences has been severe to general population. Mental health services need to recognize the diverse identities of people, ensuring quality and non-discrimination. Research in Costa Rica has shown greater psychological affection, particularly in women and other vulnerable groups due to the pandemic. As the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, has recognized, COVID-19 has the seeds of a significant mental health crisis. Mental health and social well-being is a responsibility that governments must assume, with the fundamental support of international organizations, scientists, private sector, and communities themselves through investment, research, attention, and visibility, focusing on prevention and human rights-based framework. Multilateralism is, in turn, the instrument to achieve a coordinated and lasting solution. Today, more than ever, addressing mental health together is crucial to the recovery of our society and the global economy. Therefore, Costa Rica will present in the coming weeks an initiative to create the Regional Alliance for Women's Mental Health to promote action of mental health from gender, human rights, and diversity perspective, placing particular emphasis on mental health care during and after the pandemic of COVID-19. Costa Rica also support all initiatives that allow the international community to tackle this issue with the urgency it requires. Thank you very much.
There's the ring of truth right there. Thank you, Vice President Campbell-Barr. We will look forward to Costa Rica's participation and action on that Regional Alliance of Women, recognizing mental health recovery. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. We now welcome Dr. Jennifer Kelly, the current president of the American Psychological Association, co-sponsor of this event, and actually the inspiration for this event because her presidential initiative is health equity. So this is wonderful. Jennifer comes to us from Atlanta, Georgia, where she's director of the Atlanta Center for Behavioral Medicine and addresses us on health equity and the social determinants of health. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for that inspiration for this topic and for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Judy. Greetings and welcome. Welcome from the American Psychological Association. So I would like to start off with an overview of health equity and the social determinants of health. Achieving health equity, to achieve it, we must address the societal efforts and injustices and work to eliminate preventable health and mental health disparities. We should and we can prioritize physical and mental health equity by promoting conditions for all populations to achieve optimal health. Equality does not mean equity, as you can see on the left. Equity is really about giving people what they need, when they need it, and the amount that they need it, as you can see on the right, so that all can have optimal health outcomes. Health equity is really the ethical and human rights principle that motivates us to eliminate health disparities that's just impacting us. So strategies to address health disparities should and must incorporate mental health as part of the overall health. And disparities in health and in the social determinants of health are the metric for assessing progress toward achieving health equity. So I want you to look at this. So important to understanding health disparities is looking at the social determinants of health. They are the conditions in which people are born, live, work, and age. They include factors such as economic stability, the environment in which you are raised, your level of education, and your access to health care. And from this, you will get health outcomes that include morbidity, life expectancy, and healthcare expenditures. So one of the things that goes through all of the social determinants of health that we have to be aware of is discrimination and racism. And in order to address the social determinants of health, you must look at that. So these are examples of global health disparities related to the social determinants of health. Acknowledging disparities in the social determinants of health globally is the first step to understanding the health inequities that's faced by millions, and we need to bridge the divide between health inequity and health equity. So one of the things that we know is that psychology has the expertise to address the social determinants of health that contribute to the disparities and can therefore help improve the overall health of the populations in which we are part of. And our APA has really shown a commitment to global health equity. As was mentioned by Judy, my primary presidential initiative is on health equity. And one of the things that we want to do is to provide recommendations regarding science, education and training, practice, and public policy. And we are really deeply involved with this with Dr. Jeff Reed, who you'll be hearing from later, serving as one of the co-chairs, along with Dr. Keisha Holden.
30
The
seconds.
other initiative is Equity Flattens the Curve, and it's to help mitigate the disproportionate harm that's caused by COVID-19 to the world's marginalized populations. So on behalf of APA, we are very grateful to have all of you as part of this event. We are excited to hear from the diplomats, psychologists, and other health professionals about the importance of health equity around the world and how we can learn from one another and work together to benefit underserved populations. Thank you to all our speakers and all who are joining us for this event.
Thank you, Jennifer. You've really inspired quite a movement of civil society and government here. And thank you for defining and contextualizing health equity so much for us and distinguishing it from equality. We now turn to our high-level segment with UN member state statements. And we begin with His Excellency Ambassador Francisco Lopes, the permanent representative of the mission of Portugal to the United Nations. Important to us in this event.
Sorry, I'll take care of it. Love you.
And somebody was talking. Important for us in this event. Portugal, you need to know, has led the General Assembly resolution on mental health and human rights. Very critical for this discussion today, and will host the UN Oceans Conference, which is connected to our topic today of equity, because science shows that when people have well-being, they care about the well-being of the environment. And bless you, Ambassador Lopes, and thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kuriensky. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. Let me start by congratulating all the co-organizers of this event, particularly Dr. Judy Kuriensky and my friend and colleague, Ambassador Ali Kaba of Sierra Leone and his team. I am honored to be here today to support equity in health and mental health as part of our efforts to build back better. Portugal recently hosted the first ever international conference connecting the dots between climate change and mental health. Our President of the Republic was one of the speakers at this international conference. We have implemented an ambitious mental health decentralized program to ensure equitable access to quality care for all people with mental health conditions, including those in vulnerable situations. In this context, and as you said, Dr. Kuriensky, in the context of the Human Rights Council in Geneva, Portugal has been among the leaders of the international call for a paradigm shift in mental health from an exclusively biomedical approach to a more comprehensive and human rights-based approach. Our common goal is to ensure that people are provided with quality mental health services and that we significantly reduce situations of discrimination, of stigma, of violence, of coercion, and of segregation. We initiated the process that led to the consensual adoption of 3 resolutions on mental health and human rights, 2016, 2017, and then more recently in 2020. Dear colleagues, let me now mention mental health in connection with 2 of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 13 and SDG 14. SDG 13 deals, as we know, among other pressing global challenges, with climate change. In SIDS, in small island developing states, the trauma and the danger brought by rising sea levels that could wash away the land, and with it, wash away the means of survival of entire societies, this trauma has obvious and potentially intense psychological consequences. Less obvious, it's probably the connection between target 3.4, between mental health, and SDG 14, oceans and life below water. But as you just said, Dr. Kuryansky, science tells us that ensuring people well-being will enhance human care about the well-being of our environment and of other creatures, including life below water. As you certainly know, Portugal is co-hosting with Kenya the upcoming UN Oceans Conference in Lisbon in 2022, and we intend to pay attention to this connection. To conclude, allow me to refer to LDCs, a priority in our development partnerships. This group of countries, the least developed countries, have drastically limited health and mental health resources. We must work together to ensure that the populations of these countries also have access to health and mental health. It is indeed a question of human rights, as stated in the resolutions we champion. Dear colleagues, in a broader perspective,
30 seconds.
Portugal is fully committed to universal health coverage and remains available to work with all partners to achieve it. Mental health is an important component of this noble endeavor. Thank you very much, Dr. Kuryansky.
We are so lucky and blessed to have you, Ambassador Lopes. Thank you so much for your heart and your commitment to human rights, mental health, the oceans, the trauma of the SIDS and the LDCs. Bless you. We now turn to His Excellency Ambassador Juan Ramon de la Fuente, the permanent representative of the mission of Mexico to the United Nations, comes to us by video. Now, I want you to know, first of all, he's a psychiatrist. He was Dean of the National Autonomous University of Mexico and was Minister of Health of Mexico. He signed the political declaration on equitable global access to COVID-19 vaccines, co-facilitated the Global Compact on Migration. Our speaker, Dr. Medina Mora, coming up later, will discuss more about that. And Mexico is introducing mental health and psychosocial support in emergency situations into their term in the Security Council. All that, listen.
Good afternoon, Excellencies, colleagues, and friends. Let me start by thanking the permanent mission of Sierra Leone for leading as a sponsor of these timely discussions. Mexico is very glad to join forces with all co-sponsors who have been at the forefront of this issue at the United Nations. Allow me to congratulate the World Health Organization, the International Association of Applied Psychology, the United African Congress, and the American Psychological Association for organizing today's events and for their unwavering support in bridging the gap to reduce health inequalities. A warm welcome to the panelists, who I'm sure will leave us with practical solutions that we must continue to promote. As a former Minister of Health of Mexico and working for several years in the fields of psychiatry and mental health, my experience has taught me firsthand that we must address together both the physical and the psychological health inequities which have been exacerbated in the context of COVID-19. To cope with the unprecedented global health emergency, the world requires a more robust health response based on cooperation while strengthening relevant international organizations, instruments, and protocols. For this reason, last year, Mexico promoted a resolution in the General Assembly, Resolution 74/274, to ensure equal access to medicines, vaccines, and medical equipment worldwide to face what we had anticipated would be some of the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. And it was adopted by consensus by the General Assembly and served as a catalyst for initiatives such as COVAX and other mechanisms to attempt to compensate, insufficiently of course, for the grave inequalities we have witnessed. Worldwide, the COVID-19 vaccination campaign is progressing unevenly, unacceptably unevenly. And yet, we must remember the importance of resuming other immunization campaigns at the same time that were interrupted by the strained health systems that had to be dealing with the pandemic. One of Mexico's priorities, especially during our tenure as non-permanent Security Council members, has been and will be to promote mental health and psychosocial support in conflict settings and beyond. Mexico recognizes that mental health and psychosocial well-being is a fundamental factor in rebuilding the social fabric. If untreated, mental health has the potential of becoming a terrible pandemic, as it has devastating consequences in society at large. It reduces productivity, it raises healthcare expenses, just to mention two among many others. I welcome very much the promotion of more effective psychological sciences to advance health equity. There is much need to it. According to WHO, for instance, there are 0.05 psychiatrists per 100,000 inhabitants in low-income countries. That is, frankly, unacceptable. Finally, I believe the HLPF offers a good opportunity to reflect on diverse angles for the fulfillment of the SDGs. With less than a decade to go until we reach the deadline of the current goals, we must design more innovative solutions that adapt to today's complex realities. That is the challenge. I wish you, my friends, fruitful discussions, and once again, thank you for inviting me to share with you these initial remarks.
I think we're getting quite the sense of this amazing group of leaders on the international stage, from already hearing from Mexico and Portugal, and of course, from our own Sierra Leone, about the brilliance and the heart that we're seeing for equity. And that is certainly the case for our next speaker, His Excellency Ambassador Issa Konfuru, the permanent representative of the mission of the Republic of Mali to the United Nations, who is handling the current peace and security issues in his country with such good judgment and gentlemanliness. He has been advisor to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation, and African Integration, and we are very lucky to have him on this international stage and supporting health equity. Thank you, Ambassador Konfuru. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator, Dr. Judy. First, I would like to thank my brother, Ambassador Ali Kaba, the PR of Sierra Leone, and yourself, Moderator, Dr. Judy Kiriansky, for this inviting me to this important meeting. I must also thank the World Health Organization, the American Psychological Association, for being part of this initiative. I know that our briefer will come very soon, and I'm sure that the remark they will make will pave the way for practical ways and solutions to health equity in pandemic recovery. Mali is particularly happy to join the other sponsor of this important topic. The world is facing so many challenges: human security, terrorism, climate change, education, youth employment, economic challenges, and yet we have to deal with all aspects of health challenges like malaria, HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, Ebola, and now COVID-19. We are all suffering from this disease. But developing countries are suffering the most of these challenges, which are global phenomenon. And in my view, the best way to tackle them is through international cooperation. We need to strengthen the existing world organizations to ensure equal access to medicines and vaccines, including mental health and well-being of mankind. We all know that without good health for our people, we can't achieve our sustainable development goals. So we need to strengthen this partnership among member states, health organizations, civil society, academia, private sectors, in order to bring sustainable solution to these challenges. I would like to end by saying that Mali remains committed to building back better from COVID-19. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Konfuru. We are really delighted to have Mali in the family of countries and missions who are supportive of mental health and well-being. The UN member states have actually formed a group of friends of mental health and well-being with 4 co-chairs. Bahrain, we will hear from. Belgium, Canada, we'll also hear from, and Ecuador, that really started way back with the UN agenda, with the negotiations with Palau to form this group. And with us now from the Permanent Mission of Ecuador is His Excellency, Ambassador Christian Espinosa. It's appropriate to note for today's topic of equity that Ecuador is the first country to include the rights of nature in their constitution, equal to the rights of a person, and that Ecuador has also been a leader in recognizing the rights of marginalized populations, including disabled persons. So welcome so much, His Excellency Espinosa.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kuryansky. It's a pleasure to be here, pleasure to join you in this meeting. I would like, of course, to start by thanking as well the ambassador of Sierra Leone, the Permanent Mission of Sierra Leone, and the fellow permanent missions co-sponsoring this event for bringing to our attention this important subject, which is the link between mental health and SDG 3, good health and well-being, and SDG 10, these issues that have to do with reducing inequality within and between nations. For Ecuador, as the co-president of the Group of Friends and Well-being, it is a great pleasure to see the increased interest in the problems of mental health, the problematic of mental health. As you know, the main objective of the Group of Friends is to raise awareness of the challenges of mental health issues, seeking to highlight some of the tools, resources, and strategies that can help better address individual and collective mental health needs by making available the work of international organizations and the application of national policies, and now more than ever taking into account the pandemic and its negative effects. Suicide as a mental health consequence remains as one of the main causes of death among young people. The problem has been exacerbated by the deep economic crisis and the confinement that still affects the globe. The most vulnerable groups, such as minorities, women, children, migrants, refugees, and the wider inequality gap led by poverty, has increased mental health issues in our societies. In this context, it is worthy to quote some words from the policy brief named COVID-19 and the Need for Action on Mental Health, produced by the Secretary General, and that was published last year and was backed by the Group of Friends on Mental Health. And I quote here the study. It says, good mental health is critical to the functioning of society at the best of times. It must be front and center of every country's response to and recovery for COVID-19 pandemic. The mental health and well-being of whole societies have been severely impacted by this crisis and are a priority to be addressed urgently. End of quote. The promise to leave no one behind.
30 seconds.
The promise to leave no one behind is the commitment of all states. Having access to vaccines are in the core of this attempt. In order to reopen the economies as soon as possible and prevent depression and despair from economic and social problems to
10
happen.
seconds.
Let's prevent greater impacts to achieve the Agenda 2030 and its SDGs. Now, more than ever, we rely on the principles of cooperation and solidarity among countries. We believe that multilateralism is the only way forward. With the contribution of everybody, we believe that Build Back Better is possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Espinosa, for reminding us about the connection between SDG 3 and 10 and 1, the Secretary General's mental health policy, and multilateralism, that we're all in this together. Also a co-chair of the group of Friends of Mental Health and Wellbeing is Bahrain. So we welcome now His Excellency, Ambassador Jamal Al-Ruwayi, the permanent representative of the mission of the Kingdom of Bahrain to the United Nations, co-chair of the group of Friends of Mental Health and Wellbeing. I remember hearing Ambassador Jamal at celebrations for Bahrain in the UN Delegates Dining Room. He was speaking so eloquently about his country's commitment to interreligious understanding. After all, because Bahrain led the UN resolution of the culture of peace with love and conscience. Over to you, Ambassador Jamal. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Judy Koroneski, for giving me the floor. You are a true inspiration and a real hero for your continued work and advocacy. I want also to extend my appreciation to Ambassador Ali Kaba and all our colleagues at the Permanent Mission of Sierra Leone for bringing us together to discuss this important topic. Your Excellency, distinguished guest, it's given me a pleasure to participate and join you today in this important event to discuss building back better from COVID-19 pandemic through addressing the essential issues of mental health. The Secretary General and the World Health Organization have both noted the importance of addressing mental health, which has been felt by everyone to this very day. We are not yet certain how life will be like after the pandemic, as the long-term effects are so multifaceted. As a co-chair of the group Friends of Mental Health and Wellbeing, we have sought to know different aspects of mental health, raising awareness of the matter and discussing best practices from different parts of the world and building on achievement to mainstream the discussion. To understand the pandemic's long-term mental health impact, it's critical to first look at how people's mental health has changed since it began. And it's now more important than ever before to address this matter while there is a worldwide attention toward mental and well-being. Although circumstances are improving and the world is opening again, the result of the pandemic have an enduring negative impact on mental health. I look forward to continuing this discussion and listening to speakers, discussing the best practices and keeping this conversation as a top priority. Mental health is a core issue and the 2030 agenda can only be achievable with the health as a central block to achieving many of the goals and health equity. I wish you all a successful event and successful high-level political forum. Dr. Judy, thank you again.
Oh, bless you, Ambassador Kamal, for those beautiful statements. Jamal is really an amazing human being. As many of the other ambassadors we have seen, you could see his heart and commitment, and we appreciate your thinking of mental health as the core of really achieving the agenda as an interlinkage way. When we hear the UN call to reach those furthest behind, that's at the heart of universal health coverage. For the political declaration on universal health coverage, we're very grateful to the co-facilitator, Georgia. So we're very honored to have with us His Excellency Ambassador Kaha Mnadzi, who's a permanent representative of the mission of Georgia to the UN. And talk about equity, Georgia launched its own UHC program back in 2013. They've co-sponsored our major side event with WHO during the UN meetings on the Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And if you've ever been to beautiful Georgia, from one vista, you could see a mosque, a church, and a synagogue. So welcome, Ambassador Mnadzi.
Thank you very much, dear Judy, for these introductions, and thanks to all the colleagues. The outset, let me mention that on behalf of my mission, we were very much delighted to co-sponsor this webinar on this very, very important topic. I'll be brief. What my country has done with regard to the pandemic, or during the pandemic, or what he's doing, has been talked about many times. So let me offer some of my generalized observations. Firstly, the pandemic indeed showed that no country developed or developing is secure when it comes to health-related issues. And we've seen both a great consolidation of solidarity as well as competition, particularly at the very early stages. We've also learned the necessity of proper communication, because when the information that goes to the public is incomplete or inadequate, that gives rise to lots of theories, and then we have to tackle with those unnecessary theories. Vaccines are a great tool, but they alone cannot act as a magic bullet, and we do need proper and adequate investment in critical medical infrastructure, so that we do need the combination of both. So to make us more secure for future, to make sure that we are better prepared, we do need really to have health equity, to achieve health equity. But when we talk about health equity and equitable access, for instance, to vaccines, that is very important today, we need to make sure that we have access not only as consumers, but also as manufacturers. In other words, production of production facilities should also be equitably spread throughout the different regions. And this also goes to the exchange of scientific information, to data. Obviously, the research and the money that has been spent, it's a public money, not the private money. So there's therefore a proper balance between the private grid, which as a matter of fact is the driver of progress, and social responsibility and equity, which is the very foundation of stability of the well-being of a society. Isn't it very important? And lastly, with regard to the mental health, since 1995, my country has introduced a lot of changes, enacted new legislation, made a major shift from an approach to mental health when it was based on institutional care in asylums, which was in Soviet time, like protecting the society from potential harm, to a more inclusive community-based institutions to make sure that those who suffer from mental health issues are integral part of the society. Now, during this pandemic, which affected all of us, I guess we've all become slightly mad. I think the lockdowns, as important as they were as a tool, also showed us that a lot of people suffered. We had rise in domestic violence. We have a lot of stress, and particularly children, because when children saw that they were no longer priority for their parents, but their parents were more concerned with that little screen that they were looking at, I mean, that's something that we need to think of it. And I'm sure there'll be many other observations, and those observations should be generalized. The proper lessons should be learned so that we are better equipped for the future when similar, hopefully not, but similar or other health emergencies happen. So I'll stop at that, and I wish you all a very successful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Nazi, for your leadership on what is also at the core of the UN agenda, universal health coverage, with you and Thailand leading that, co-facilitating that political declaration. We now turn to a very special part of our program spiritually. Everything has been special. An opening prayer from Brenda Mason, an elder of the OG Cree people who comes to us from her spiritual room at the St. Joseph Health Center in Ontario, Canada, where she does holistic mental, physical, and spiritual counseling. And we welcome also her two-spirited partner, Ethel. Thank you so much, Brenda, for your graciousness and your heart. You have to unmute.
I am very good at unmuting. Unfortunately, my partner couldn't join me. My health site is still in a lockdown, but to be open at the end of the week for our clients. Thank you for this opportunity. I feel honored and blessed today for your invitation. As Judy said, my English name is Brenda Mason. My Anishinaabe name is Mambazanagutuga, which translates to English, infant, hanging, standing woman. I was raised in Sandy Lake, Ontario, which is really further up north than Thunder Bay. I'm a grandmother, meaning I have grandchildren, and I belong to my clan is a fish clan, Red Sucker. And I'm in Thunder Bay, speaking to you from Thunder Bay in our spiritual room. I speak Uji Cree, so I had some trouble getting on with my laptop. I had technical problems, and I finally figured it out myself. I didn't have to call anyone. However, I'm going to say a prayer in my language. Miigwech Shamanadu, Miigwech Wanugum Kanakaman, Shawan Mashiang, Shawan Mata Nuganigan Skamaj, Natama Way Winwinter, Shawan Matagas Bapis Watch, as Mama of Nanonguma, as the Gatic Way, and Shinawakunch. You know, I don't know the Majway, Minayan. Creator, I am grateful for my life. I am grateful for this beautiful day. And Creator, I ask you and thank you. We are grateful that you continue to bless us and surround us with love and compassion so that we may continue to do our work to provide the service to our people, but to do it in a way that gives them the means to find their gift within themselves as we have found our gift within our hearts. And as we come together in this form, that you will continue to provide the guidance and direction that we need, and we continue to see what we are searching for. And with our leaders who send me to each one of them. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, bless us. Bless you, bless you, bless you, Brenda. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Brenda. Thank you so much. It is very appropriate for all of us, Brenda, to hear your words, and particularly the way the spirits have created your technological issue was kind of perfect, because it is ideal to lead into Lebanon, because we extend all our love now to Lebanon, recovering from the explosion in Beirut. So this is perfect. As we welcome now Dr. Amal Mulali, the permanent representative of the mission of Lebanon to the United Nations. I say doctor because she has a PhD in political communication and was a journalist for Arabic and English language publications and broadcasters like the BBC. And she was awarded the great honor of the Chevalier de l'Ordre de la Légion d'Honneur from France. How wonderful. Lebanon has been one of the countries leading the political declaration on equitable global access to COVID-19 vaccines, with missions we heard earlier from Mexico, and we will hear from Qatar and Sweden later. So Ambassador, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us, truly, and blessings in to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Judy Gransky, for this wonderful introduction and for everything good you're doing at Columbia and the United Nations. I would like to start by thanking the mission of Sierra Leone and my brother Ali for this great initiative. It's such an important initiative, an important subject, especially as you said, I'm coming from Lebanon, and Lebanon was going through a very difficult financial and economic crisis before COVID started, and people were going through very difficult stress, mental and physical and financial stress, and then COVID hit Lebanon. So we really, this hits very close to home, this topic. It's a very important topic. And I want to thank also my colleagues, my friends and colleagues who spoke before me about their ideas and their great contributions. But I want to share with you, as you said, Lebanon has been very active on the global political declaration on equitable vaccine, global vaccines. And in this regard, I would like to be, because of, for the benefit of time, I would like to share with you a new concern that I have, and I think we're going to work on at the United Nations. And it started with an article I saw in Scientific American. And the title is, "A tsunami of disability is coming as a result of long COVID. We need to plan for a future where millions of survivors are chronically ill." This is really very concerning news, because as some people are recovering, and we're talking about building better, there are some people around the world, millions of people around the world, who still don't have vaccines, don't have access to vaccines, and they're really struggling to find the shot in the arm to be safe. So as we are talking to build back better, we need to understand what we are dealing with. What are the long-term effects of this disease, to plan for the future better, and its long-term consequences. Apparently, many people, millions of people, 1/4 of Americans who got COVID, the 34 million who got COVID, they have long-term COVID, which means after 7 to 8 months after they recover, they still have symptoms and fatigue and chronic respiratory problems and things like that. So this long haul COVID is going to be a big stability problem. It's going to be a mental health problem for people, especially if you're going to be sick for a long time. This is going to put so much stress on you. And this has a far-reaching impact around the world, especially in developing countries and vulnerable countries, where governments and the healthcare systems face challenges to begin with, even before this happens. So I think it's very, very important for us to start looking at this disability.
30 seconds.
Thank you. At this disability, and to try to insist that vaccines have to be shared by everybody. We have to fight COVID before it starts and before we reach to long-term COVID. We have to fight mental health before it happens by trying to hit at the causes of this problem and try to have equitable and accessible vaccines for everybody around the world. I thank you for this, and I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Oh, bless you, Ambassador. Dr. Mulali. We could tell why you are a correspondent and a broadcaster. And thank you for reminding us of the long haul COVID cases that are very important too. We heard a blessing from Canada, and we now turn to Canada and His Excellency Ambassador Richard Arbeiter, a good friend and the Deputy Permanent Representative of the Mission of Canada to the United Nations, and a co-chair, Canada is, of the Group of Friends of Mental Health and Wellbeing. Also, Canada is a major supporter of mental health, even regarding, guess what, funding. And I remember on his first day of arriving at the United Nations, Ambassador Arbeiter was already a captivating speaker about equity at an event at the ECOSOC chamber, debuting a film about a Canadian humanitarian who founded communities for persons with developmental disabilities. And Ambassador Arbeiter is a favored moderator of many of our psychology days at the UN about gender equality and on the topic of building back better that we're dealing with now. So over to you, Richard.
Thanks very much, Judy. Too generous as always. Thanks to Sierra Leone. Thanks to the over 250 people who've decided to spend part of their day with us here. Thanks to all the regions of the world that are representative. A big thank you to Brenda Mason for sharing that prayer with us. I think we all aspire to be servants for our people, and we'll take your well wishes certainly to heart. I'm not sure that Canada is necessarily a great champion of mental health. I think we are an aspiring student of how to do better on mental health. And these kinds of opportunities that we have with all of you, hopefully lets us learn. There's this saying, inclusion starts with I, that I believe in very much. But I also think equity and addressing equity starts with evidence. And I very much take to heart the importance of understanding the populations that we're trying to serve. Now, in Canada, by age 40, about 50% of the population will have had or has some form of a mental health issue. I include myself in that 50%. This is something that affects everyone. It's not you, it's somebody next to you, as testified by how many regions we have represented here. Now, health inequities in Canada exist, they're persistent and they're growing. And many of the inequalities are the result of an individual or group's relative social, political, and economic disadvantage. For example, experiences of discrimination, of racism, historical trauma are important social determinants of health for certain groups, including Indigenous peoples in Canada, LGBTQ, and Black Canadians. Now, as I said, we're trying to address these inequalities, including through better data collection, more tailored policies, and increased financing. But it's not easy, it's not straightforward, and nothing is perfect. We all need to learn. And really what we're trying to do is enable at the systemic level individualized responses that make sense for the individual concerned. That's a tough thing to do, but that's in the end, I think the goal for us, and dare I say the goal for many people on this call. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a member of the associations that I've had the pleasure of engaging with that are on this call a few times. But I did experience as a manager in my own mission new, frankly, realities brought on by COVID, where I had to learn how to be a better manager for my own staff, each of whom experienced a different kind of mental health emergency, either for themselves or for their families over the course of the past 15 months. I came to understand how empathy not only goes a long way, but has to be the starting point for how we engage with one another. How destigmatization is an everyday practice, not something that you do every quarter or every half year. And that all issues at the systemic level, including treatments and what's available in this package of health services in your community or via your insurance practices or whatever it is, have to fully include mental health and mental health conditions for everyone's sake. I look forward to hearing our expert panelists a little bit later in this presentation, and thank you once again for allowing us to participate alongside you today. Thanks very much.
Ambassador Arbeiter, you've been very humble about Canada. Come on, you has been a tremendous leader from the beginnings of the discussions of the SDG negotiations. So bless you, and for mentioning the word empathy, which is so critical in building back better and part of psychological counseling, best techniques, really. We now turn to an amazing person, again, who's a deputy permanent representative of the mission of Nepal to the United Nations, Ghanshyam Bhandari. And DPR Bhandari has eloquently described Nepal's new laws that support mental health. And I love this, the national aspiration of Nepal, prosperous Nepal, happy Nepali. I know there's some other countries who said, I think I want to adopt that for my country. He's a true example also of what we heard earlier about multi-sectorialism in intersection of the SDGs with SDG 3 and 10 and 17, because he's been collaborating with academia through my Nepali student at Columbia University Teachers College, Meera Kanal, and with a speaker coming up, Dr. Kamal Gautam from the Transcultural Psychosocial Organization in Nepal. So we bless you and thank you, DPR Bhandari. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Judy, for these kind words. I really appreciate, and thank you so much for bringing us all together today. At the outset, I would like to also thank the Permanent Mission of Sierra Leone and other organizers for organizing this event. We are pleased to be one of the co-sponsors of this event and share our experiences in addressing the issues of health equity, mental health, and well-being during the times of COVID-19. The current pandemic has affected the physical and psychosocial health of almost everyone, everywhere. Social isolation, loss of beloved ones, loss of jobs, and many socioeconomic impacts of the pandemic have brought the issue of mental health to the center. Its impact has been more acute on those who are already the furthest behind, including especially those in the countries such as LDCs, LLDCs, and SEEDs. Health inequity has been further exacerbated in the times of COVID-19 with women, children, senior citizens, people with mental health conditions, and other vulnerable groups of people suffering disproportionately. Like any other developing country, Nepal was not prepared for the crisis of this scale. However, the government has continued to focus on reducing health disparities and addressing mental health as one of the priority areas of the pandemic response. When the pandemic had just struck the country, a health sector emergency response plan for COVID-19 was introduced in May 2020 with provisions that mental health services and psychosocial counseling and support would be provided to the patients and healthcare workers. Guidelines for COVID-19 and non-COVID health service delivery were developed to prevent the disruption of essential health services. Testing and treatment services are being provided free of charge to the needy people. In all these efforts, the emphasis has been placed on mobilizing resources in local and grassroots levels so as to ensure that the services reach the most vulnerable and the needy people. We have adopted a multi-stakeholder approach. Civil society organizations, think tanks, academics, and private sector have been taken on board in a spirit of collaborative partnership, as rightly and eloquently put by Dr. Judy. In this regard, I would like to thank the Nepal American Coalition Group involving Dr. Judy herself, our moderator of this event, International Association of Applied Psychology, civil society organizations in Nepal, such as TPO, I understand a representative of which will make a presentation later today, and youths from Nepali diaspora for their contribution to the mental health needs of Nepali people. Going forward, achieving holistic health equity and realizing SDGs 3 and 10, among others, will not be possible without addressing health inequalities both within and among nations. For this, and to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, universal access to vaccines must be ensured. We believe that the vaccine should not be used for profiteering. Vaccine equity is not just about rights, it is also about justice. I conclude by reiterating that an enhanced level of global collaboration will be critical to respond, recover, and rebuild better. Nepal is committed to continue working towards achieving health equity and building that better by addressing all forms of inequalities. I thank you for your attention and I thank you for this opportunity.
Bless you, Ghanshyam. Nepal's truly a model of this multi-stakeholder approach. So that's truly tremendous. We now turn to Japan and His Excellency Ambassador Tetsuya Kimura from the Mission of Japan that co-chairs the group of Friends of Universal Health Coverage. He's in charge of economic and social affairs and also UN management, but humanitarian rights also, and importantly, sports for development and peace. Sports being a major issue of equity, certainly in our country, in our news right now, but fundamental to what we're looking for building back better. So you might see Ambassador Kimura, with his passion for sports, riding his bike in Central Park. Over to you, Ambassador.
Thank you, Dr. Judy Kriansky, and thank you for the introduction. At the outset, I'd like to thank the permanent mission of Sierra Leone and the co-organizers for their initiative and the previous speakers for their insightful remarks. The global spread of COVID-19, which has become a crisis of human security, has reminded us of the lessons learned from the past infectious disease control efforts and the importance of ensuring a timely and appropriate emergency response to infectious diseases. In our response to COVID-19, we have reaffirmed our commitment to universal health coverage, UHC, including public health and disease prevention, with the view to ensuring access for all individuals to comprehensive health services that include care for both mental and physical health, in order to achieve health equity in the post-COVID-19 pandemic recovery. In this regard, I would like to stress the need to address the most vulnerable segments of society. Let me mention briefly Japan's effort to address this global challenge. First, Japan works together with the COVAX facility in addition to bilateral cooperation towards ensuring fair and equitable access to vaccines for all. Last June, Japan and Gavi co-hosted the COVAX Advanced Market Commitment Summit, where global leaders and private sector companies pledged $2.4 billion to the COVAX facility to accelerate access to 1.8 billion doses of COVID vaccines for lower income economies. At the summit, Prime Minister Suga announced that Japan will contribute another $800 million to COVAX, in addition to the $200 million already pledged. Second, Japan supports the effort in developing countries to build hospitals and assist in the strengthening health and medical system through providing equipment and supporting human resource development. Japan has been supporting the establishment of an ASEAN Center for Public Health Emergencies and Emerging Diseases, as well as the African Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Japan has also provided support for the establishment of the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research in Ghana and assisted in the training of its medical laboratory technicians. Lastly, we take a holistic approach to ensuring health security in a broader context. We will continue to work with other countries to improve the conditions of water, sanitation, hygiene, nutrition, education, and other environmental factors. Accordingly, Japan will host the Tokyo Nutrition for Growth Summit 2021 this December. Especially after COVID-19, it has become clear that vulnerable people must have access to comprehensive health services and adequate nutrition. Against this backdrop, Japan will continue to promote UHC towards the goal of leaving no one's health behind. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Kimura. Japan has been a leader in so many different issues that you're now just even describing to us, besides in funding and having such heart for countries around the world. We really appreciate it. We now turn to His Excellency Ambassador Sadiq Wai, Chief of Mission of the Embassy of the Republic of Sierra Leone to the United States. We call him the visionary ambassador and the people's ambassador, since he really is a master at innovation and bringing communities together in that whole sense of multilateralism. And he's always inspiring people to take action. Previously, he was the president, by the way, of the United African Congress, one of our co-sponsors that we will hear from. But now he's in Washington, and Ambassador Wai, equally beloved by his diplomatic colleagues, evident in his election as Secretary General for ECOWAS, that's the Economic Community of West African States, and as co-chair of the Diaspora and Public Affairs Committee, all of which he does brilliantly. Ambassador Wai, to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Judy, and thank you to all the speakers for giving me this opportunity to participate in this very important topic, building back better after COVID-19. Excellencies and colleagues, organizers of this very important side event, esteemed guests, I bring you greetings from the Embassy of Sierra Leone to the United States and our many Sierra Leone diaspora and friends who are participating in this forum today. I'm pleased to share with you today the support and actions of my country on the important topic of this event, namely health equity to build back better from this pandemic. From listening to my distinguished colleagues, including my good friend, Ambassador Komforo from Mali, and from my experiences working with members of the NGO co-sponsors of this program, I would like to share the following lessons learned. To achieve health equity, partnership of government with civil society in the spirit of SDG 7, I want to say emphatically that it works. This was proven when the COVID-19 virus was threatening my country of Sierra Leone. On behalf of my embassy, I mobilized our diaspora friends and health professionals to form a COVID-19 task force, the first of such task force in the diplomatic community in the United States. Within only 3.5 months, the task force mobilized material and financial assistance valued over $7.5 million from the diaspora, presented then to the then Minister of Foreign Affairs International Cooperation in Freetown. This significant effort supports the goal of this side event today, to address a health crisis in a country with a significant treatment gap and needs. In another example, my embassy collaborated with the United African Congress through its president, Mr. Gordon Tapper, who will speak later, and with the International Association of Applied Psychology through our moderator, the distinguished moderator, Dr. Judy Koreansky, on an important health initiative. Africa Rise, Healthy and Stronger, is raising awareness and funds to address the health and mental needs of people in the most remote communities in our countries where there are no doctors and limited equipment. Overall, our government is also working with civil society in the signature agenda of our president, Dr. Julius Maada Bio, called Human Capital Development, which addresses the 3 pillars of education, health, and security.
30 seconds.
Education about health and well-being, especially in our sector, is essential in development. The Sierra Leone diaspora has already raised funds towards establishing it. Let me end with a point I always make at these esteemed events. After all high-level brilliant presentations, what next? I'm so happy to learn that this event has already led to connections between the governments and experts speaking here today. I encourage all such collaboration, for example, working towards a resolution about health and well-being, so we call Build Back Better together. I yield back, Madam Chair, and I thank you.
That was brilliant. Thank you so much, Ambassador White. We need to pay attention to your call to action. I love that you do that. And that you called for a resolution. Well, the person who knows all about resolutions and does them all the time is up next. Mr. Werner Obermeyer, a good friend and director of the World Health Organization office at the United Nations. He has a huge portfolio. He covers global health and mental health and UHC and health security and climate change and health and narcotics and tobacco control and disabilities and road safety. He's a brilliant negotiator for so many UN resolutions promoting health, including that led to the adoption of UHC, the 2030 Agenda, and many political declarations on tuberculosis and on the prevention and control of NCDs, of which mental health is now the 5th NCD. And he's doing those negotiations about NCDs right now, given that he, along with WHO's, I acknowledge their technical advisor, Eva Kigeli, who will now speak, Werner, about World Health Organization's position on health equity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy, for allowing us to be part of this conversation. It's very important for the World Health Organization to participate in such an important event. And I really want to salute all the countries that have spoken ahead of me for their standout leadership on all these topics. You know, inequities have been exposed, as we have heard earlier tonight, in all countries where this pandemic is now taking over the concentration of health systems, and it has become a major inhibitor of us reaching the SDGs, including particularly SDG 3. This is true, as we have also heard from several speakers, for disproportionately affected groups in those countries where health systems are weak, particularly those in the humanitarian crisis. We're talking about refugees and migrants, indigenous persons, older people, those with disabilities, and children. They're all at higher risk. And we have also found that non-communicable diseases have been particularly neglected during the pandemic. So the equity and prevention and care that we are looking for in terms of gender parity in particular, and women's rights have been affected. Many countries are obviously behind, a full 10 years behind the 2030 target date, and we need to scale up action. We need to do better with vaccine equity. Less than 1% of people in low-income countries have received at least one dose of the vaccine. Here in South Africa, my home country, it's 2%. The developed countries are already starting to vaccinate teenagers. So we must invest in equitable distribution of diagnostics, tests, treatments, and medical supplies. We must invest in health systems and health workers to translate this into action. Global health security obviously starts with local health security. And then I must also emphasize there's an increasing concern that the mental health impacts of this pandemic will most likely exceeds the direct impact of the virus. It's exposed the fragility of mental health services globally, and our surveys in the World Health Organization indicate the pandemic has slowed down or halted critical mental health services in over 93% of countries in the world, while the demand obviously is increasing and will multiply in the near future. Over 60% of countries have disrupted health services for mental health conditions and vulnerable people. These are children, adolescents, and older adults, and they are the ones clearly that we need to focus on in the here and now. I'm sure that we have all agreed that building back safeguards in our health systems is a matter of priority. I think we must also recognize that we must collaborate with the private sector, with the NGOs, and multiple other stakeholders to achieve health for all. I thank you very much. I have to leave now because we are under a lockdown, which starts in 30 minutes. And so I need to hit the road. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Werner, so much for all your leadership in so many important resolutions at the United Nations. Bless you. We now turn to our panel of scientific experts. And first up is Dr. Jeffrey Reed, who's professor of medical psychology in the Department of Psychiatry at Columbia University and co-director of the WHO, Werner, Collaborating Center for Capacity Building and Training in Global Mental Health. Oh, Jeff is very smart and very connected to every aspect of the field of health and everyone in it. And he co-chairs also Dr. Kelly's Presidential Task Force on Health Equity that we heard about earlier. So he's so perfect to talk to us about improving health equity by addressing global mental health needs. Over to you, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have just a couple of slides if Gabe will help me. Perfect. Okay. It's an honor to speak with you briefly about improving health equity by addressing global mental health needs. Next slide, please. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, it was estimated that 10.7% of the world's population was living with serious mental or substance use disorders at any given time. Mental and substance use disorders were known to account for 7% of total global disease burden and were the biggest contributor to global disability. Yet, only an average of 2% of national health budgets was being directed to these disorders, even though effective and inexpensive treatments were available. In low and middle income countries where most of the world's population lives, between 76 and 85% of people with serious mental disorders had received no treatment in the previous year. Next slide. Health disparities experienced, are we having trouble with the slides? Looks like it.
Let me try again, Jeff.
Okay. Okay, so we should be on the third one now. Okay. Health disparities experienced by people with mental disorders include disproportionately high rates of mortality from a wide range of health conditions. A person with a serious mental disorder is expected to live an average of 10 to 25 years less than a person who does not have one. People with mental disorders who are also members of groups who are otherwise vulnerable or stigmatized will have even worse outcomes. Next slide. So the COVID pandemic has happened against this already grim backdrop. The pandemic has exacerbated the already chronic underfunding of mental health services, disrupting or halting critical mental health services in 93% of 130 countries surveyed by WHO. This was mentioned by the speaker from WHO. We've seen that people with mental and neurological disorders have greater vulnerability than others to SARS-CoV-2 infection and death. The initial mental health effects of the pandemic involved primarily symptoms of stress and anxiety, as well as bereavement and grief. But with time and prolonged lockdowns, we've seen increased depression, alcohol and substance use, self-harm, and eating disorders, among others. 89% of the countries surveyed by WHO reported that mental health was a part of their response to COVID-19, but only 17% had provided additional funding. Next slide.
30 seconds.
Telehealth services have been touted as a way to help overcome the impact of the pandemic on mental health services, but there are substantial disparities in uptake by country and region. Let's go to the final slide, please. Let me conclude with some recommendations that go especially to SDGs 3, 10, and 17. The most important ones are clearly universal health coverage that includes mental health and increasing the share of health spending allocated to mental health.
First lady wants to have
Second, we in the global mental health community need to do a better job of communicating that mental health treatment increases economic productivity, is necessary to achieve SDGs, and that progress can be measured. We need to implement systematic interventions to improve the health of people with mental disorders, and we need to emphasize mental health programs for vulnerable and disenfranchised groups, particularly whole person interventions that address social determinants of health and broader health disparities. Next. I thank you for your attention. I've provided my email here if any of you would like to get in touch with me or to follow up in any way. Thank you very much.
Jeff, you clearly have a great deal to contribute, and I think you've inspired us that we'll circulate that for sure, because people need to know the vastness of what you're doing. And thank you for really being on the team, supporting Dr. Kelly, supporting Jennifer's initiative, her presidential initiative about health equity that led to all of this. So this is really astounding and tremendous. Next we go to the state of Qatar. We've been around the world here. She's actually in Qatar, where Dr. Sharifa Al-Imadi is now. She's a psychologist and family counselor at the Doha International Family Institute that supports Arab families. And one of their current projects is a study on adolescents' well-being, in part by supporting them in sports, which we heard about from Japan. And Qatar, of course, is the site of the 2022 FIFA World Cup. So she is also a member of the National Committee for Women, Children, the Elderly, and Persons with Disability, and she's developed a couples counseling curricula for Qatar and Saudi Arabia, and is promoting family-friendly practices and programs throughout the region. Thank you so much for your work, Dr. Al-Imadi. I know we all want to hear about it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Judy. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to address you today on this side event tackling important topic of COVID-19 and mental health. Globally, when COVID-19 emerged as a pandemic, the immediate policy responses related to physical health was given a priority. Afterward, mental health addressment was the subject of government policy responses and non-government practices initiatives at the community level. Qatar was not an exception from this global topology of policy and practice response. In response for COVID-19, Doha International Family Institution is present, carrying our lofty mission to produce evidence and advocating for the development of family policies and programs. Hence, we initiate 3 research projects. I will briefly provide you with the overall picture of the findings from the 2 research projects in Qatar, which you mentioned, Dr. Judy. It is worth highlighting that our research on COVID-19 and family cohesion in Qatar showed that 64% of the sample confirmed that positive impact of COVID-19 on family cohesion due to the more time spent together, which made family members closer. While 15% said that COVID-19 impacted them negatively with indicators of anxiety, at-home isolation, increased fears, and not being able to visit relatives. The same study confirmed that 42.5% that flexible working arrangements improved the overall well-being of parents and enhanced their parenting tasks, while 28% were struggling to balance homeschooling, family, and work commitments. Research on adolescent well-being in Qatar pre and end COVID-19 provide that families are getting stronger in crisis. For instance, adolescents reported increased emotional support from mothers and fathers during the lockdown. In addition, the overall family violence were decreased during the pandemic. Evidence in indicators such as my family members argue with each other in a scary way, which decreased from 25% period to a lockdown to 15% during the lockdown, showing an overall decrease of 10%. In general, the key takeaways from our research are COVID-19 impacted mental health in both ways, positive and negative. The lockdown provided the opportunity for family to be more connected and enhance family cohesion and overall mental well-being. Several mental health challenges reported, such as increased fears and anxiety. Flexible working arrangements opportunity for families, which improved overall well-being. In the crisis, family connected more than women. Parents' engagement, especially fathers, is an aspect that need more advocacy on, and mental health support is always a key to help family. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. El-Ahmadi. You've given us hope despite all the issues that are going on. That's wonderful. And thank you for your research. We all need to hear about that more, and please share it more with us. Over to Sweden now, where Johan Carlson joins us as Director General of the Public Health Agency of Sweden, a WHO focal point for international health registrations and communicable diseases and NCDs and environmental health. It's significant that in our talking about equity regarding SDG 5 and gender equality, actually, that the Swedish government is proud to be a feminist government. I've heard that a lot at the UN. This is awesome. Dr. Carlson chairs a forum of Swedish government agencies collaborating about the 2030 agenda. And so appropriately, he's going to address us on the topic of health equity as a driver and an outcome of sustainable development. Thank you so much, Mr. Carlson.
Thank you very much. Yes, I believe that after the pandemic, there is a window of opportunity for us to stress the importance of health issues, goal 3. But also high ambitions and political statements are not enough to address these issues properly. We believe that firm technical support is needed, especially for the local and regional level, where most of the work needs to be done. In order to facilitate this process, the Swedish Public Health Agency has launched a technical supportive structure for surveillance of actions that focuses not on health outcome, but, as Dr. Kelly stressed, on determinants of health on various levels. That is, things that need to be addressed in society on all levels in order to promote health for all. This surveillance supportive structure for health thus addresses 44 areas with targets that we already know need to be reached in order to promote health, including mental health, close the existing health gaps, and leave no one behind. Some targets are within the health sector, but most of them, not surprisingly, are found in other areas than the health sector, such as education, gender equality, employment, etc. The bottom line is that the problem of disparities in health only to a limited extent can be handled within the health sector. The idea is that regional and local authorities and the civil society will intensify the work and report on these targets, compare their achievements, benchmark the work, and get support, technical support, and transfer of knowledge from the national level. By this approach, the true interconnectivity of the SDGs will become apparent also on the local level. Health targets can be reached by local investments and achievement in other areas. In addition, other areas, other SDGs will benefit from investments in health. In fact, if you are responsible for schools or housing, you don't even need to be so interested in health matters to be able to contribute to better health for all. If you achieve the identified goals in the supportive structure, better health will follow as a consequence. And I believe that is what the Agenda 2030 is all about. So if you're interested in this work, please contact the Swedish Mission or directly the Public Health Agency. Thank you for giving me the floor.
There's no question that we are going to do just that. That's a call to action, Ambassador Y said, and thank you for that offer and that brilliant way of putting this in a nexus, SDG 3 in the nexus of the SDGs. That was brilliant. We now turn to the issue of vaccine access and acceptance, and to Dr. Wilhelm Hanekom, who was previously Deputy Director of the Tuberculosis and HIV team at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and is now Director of the Africa Health Research Institute, to talk to us about achieving equity in COVID vaccine access and acceptance. Dr. Hanekom, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak here. And my talk is going to be, my 3 minutes are going to be very simple. We've heard over and over at this meeting of the impact that COVID-19 has had on mental health all over the world. And that the COVID-19 vaccine is not the be all and end all, but it will make a phenomenal difference in the long term. And right in front of you, you can see the problem. That 1.2% of Africans so far have been vaccinated by a COVID-19 vaccine, have received at least 1 dose, whereas in other countries it's more than 60%. And so in Africa, where many of us are huge soccer fans, for example, we follow British soccer or European soccer. And this is a picture from last night, Wembley Stadium, where Italy beat England to become the European champions. And you can see a full stadium. There were 60,000 people without masks. And it's harrowing for us in South Africa, for example, who are in the peak of the third epidemic, a very severe epidemic, to look at these pictures of what's happening elsewhere. And why this is happening is because of vaccines. Because although the United Kingdom at the moment has more than 20,000 cases a day, as you can see on the top, in the top graph, in the bottom graph, you can see what the vaccines have done. There are no deaths, whereas previously the deaths and severe disease have followed the cases in the United Kingdom. So that's what we want to achieve, obviously, with vaccination. Vaccination has two goals. The one is to prevent deaths and severe disease, and the other one is to control the epidemics. They're not going to control it right now. And in a way, I want to say that the United Kingdom was lucky, because amongst the variants of COVID or of SARS-CoV-2, they had an alpha variant that was very dominant and very infectious, but very rapidly a Delta variant came in and took over. And it's very clear that the protection from the vaccines is not total against this variant, but it at least protects against severe disease. So that's what you want to achieve. But the point here is that when other people are not vaccinated in other places in the world, other variants can also emerge, and then they will not be protected. So that's why the COVAX facility from CEPI, Gavi, and the World Health Organization was formed to try and give low and middle income countries an equitable share by being a carrot for high income countries where they can buy vaccine batches so that they can actually provide the funding for the low and middle income countries. But unfortunately, this has been scuppered by bilateral agreements between governments and companies. But regardless, I think the COVAX facility is really what needs to be supported and is going to be successful ultimately in delivering vaccines globally. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hanekom. This is clearly an issue that's really front and center for us building back better. So we appreciate all your work, and thank you for coming with us from South Africa. Well, earlier we heard Ambassador de la Fuente, the permanent representative of the mission of Mexico to the UN. I mentioned he was the Dean of the National Autonomous University of Mexico, so it's perfect that we now hear from the director of the Faculty of Psychology of that very university. They've known each other for 35 years, Dr. Maria Elena Medina Mora. And she's a leading Mexican psychologist who is also an advisor to PAHO, the Pan American Health Organization. Over to you, Maria. Thank you so much for being with us and for all your work.
Thank you very much for the invitation and for the opportunity to address the situation of migrants and refugees in Latin America. The new long-term and still uncontrolled COVID-19 pandemic and increased enforced migration, including conflict-induced displacement, and the widening of inequalities between migrants and local people pose challenges to the progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. Indeed, psychology has much to offer. It has been estimated that around 6% of the total regional population are or have been in a recent migration process. Colombia, the United States, and increasingly Mexico are the main desired destination. The reasons for migration include high levels of poverty and violence. This situation meets the criterion of a humanitarian crisis and matches the UNHCR definition of coerced departure due to persecution or other forms of severe or irreparable harm, where return is not possible if asylum is denied. Migrants' transit and living conditions increase the risk of COVID-19. Studies of COVID-19 among migrants have found that the rate has grown, and even though a few migrants have been included in vaccination efforts, many are still waiting. We need to make migrants and refugees visible in local health programs, including those provided during transit. The context of migration increases the risk of poor mental health. According to WHO, about 22% will develop a mental disorder. Most migrants will require humanitarian care, and the substantial number will need psychosocial intervention. Children, especially those left behind after the parents' deportation, need short and long-term support. Persons with pre-existing mental illness and those severely affected by stress or acute anxiety require health assistance that should be accessible for all persons in need, irrespective of their nationality. Mental disorders tend to persist, so intervention must not only respond to emergency, but also be maintained as part of the community care system. Psychologists have much to offer migrants. Our role includes needs assessment, diagnostic tool, and evidence-based psychological and clinical interventions to mitigate disparities, supporting well-being, and fostering life skills, coping strategies, and resilience. Our major challenge is to find effective ways to take evidence-based interventions to the community and people in need. Our aim must be to promote inclusivity, dignity, and safety, to learn from the resilience of migrants, and through their efforts to contribute to the fulfillment of the sustainable.
Thank you so much, Dr. Medina Mora, for reminding us of the importance of the migrant population and of resilience, and for all your years of work. That is so impressive and really shows, Jennifer, Dr. Kelly, what your presidential initiative has really created here. It's astounding what you have mobilized here. The multilateralism, the multi-sectorialism, the multi-stakeholder, all in health equity that you inspired here. So bless you so much. We now turn to our Voices from the Field segment. This is a section of our program where there are brilliant innovations on the ground in countries all over the world, reaching out to those we call left furthest behind to bring them close to resources. So now let us go to the first of our innovations. And this innovation is from the company Dimagi, using digital solutions on the front lines of the COVID pandemic in Sierra Leone, in Somalia, and other countries. And welcome Jordan Levinson, their project manager, coming to us back from Cape Town. We're back in South Africa. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's a huge honor to be here. I'm Jordan Levinson, project manager at Dimagi. Dimagi is the award-winning social enterprise behind ComCare, the frontline digital toolkit relied upon by governments, NGOs, and local programs in more than 130 countries. Today, I'd like to share 3 stories about how we leverage technology as a force for equity in healthcare in the most difficult of settings. Data may sometimes feel like a buzzword, but any decision made at the highest levels of government is only as good as the official's understanding of a situation. That awareness is always driven by good data. And the same tools that collect this data allow us to provide valuable services to those who too often go without. If our work resonates with you or you see opportunity to collaborate, we'd love to speak to you. please get in touch via the link shared here, which will also drop into the chat. Let's start in Sierra Leone. When COVID hit, the Sierra Leonean government was determined not to relive the Ebola outbreak of 2015, a tragedy that was made worse by fractured response efforts and no central access to data. Damagi partnered with the Directorate of Science, Technology, and Innovation, a government team who brought together public, private, and academic partners to roll out central technology for pandemic response. Damagi was an active member of this consortium, advising on the national digital strategy, as well as deploying a custom mobile app to help quarantine site managers track cases and deliver quality care. As we enter the third wave of the pandemic, Sierra Leone is still relying on the system and is fully in charge of its deployment and expansion. Meanwhile, in Somalia, the government partnered with the WHO to tackle COVID vaccination and chose to rely on ComCare. Previous vaccine campaigns used tally sheets for reporting, which only record aggregate information, making it impossible to track if vulnerable groups are receiving vaccines. Many were left behind. The ComCare mobile app gives the Ministry of Health detailed real-time visibility into vaccine distribution with an easy-to-use dashboard, allowing them to see and fill any gaps that arise. Over 500 vaccination sites have now used it to record more than 100,000 doses. As with all of our programs, we aim to create tools that not only bolster individual campaigns, but the health system at large. This system can be used beyond COVID for routine immunization and more. It was also deployed in Jamaica and is likely to soon launch in Burkina Faso and Guatemala, and we are actively pursuing additional partners. Lastly, as this esteemed group would be well aware, COVID has exposed the incredible unmet need for mental health care. We are partnering with world experts to leverage digital tools to mental health care where there is little access, for example, via applications that guide community workers through identifying, referring, and even providing basic treatment for common mental health conditions. We are also adapting techniques for self-guided care to provide much needed support to those who may not be able to access a clinician. Here too, we are eager to collaborate, so please be sure to get in touch. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Jordan, and all the work that you're doing in Sierra Leone and Somalia and other places. Earlier, we saw the music video of Minister General, and we heard about the project of Africa Rise Healthier and Stronger to build healthy health systems in underserved Africa. And so now the president of the United African Congress, Mr. Gordon Tapper, former chief of section at the United Nations for 35 years, and a co-sponsor of this program and really the backbone of a lot of the organization, will present us about hot off the press results of this amazing project that we did in the Congo. Over to you, Gordon.
Thank you, Judy. Let me first thank the permanent mission of Sierra Leone to the United Nations for sponsoring this important program. And of course, the other permanent missions who are supporting it, along with the World Health Organization, the International Association of Applied Psychology, and the American Psychologists Association, all protocols observed. I wish to present you with a groundbreaking pilot project our health coalition conducted in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in the small mining town of Niabibwe in the province of South Kivu. We did this as a partnership of United African Congress, Give Them a Hand Foundation, the International Association of Applied Psychology, and a local group in the DRC by the name of Hope and Health Vision. Our mission was to help the community people protect themselves from COVID-19 infection and to strengthen their psychological resilience. All this while facing Ebola, which was rife in the country just prior to that. They're facing constant violence from competing militias and ethnic groups, and of course, endemic poverty. Our project, which was conducted last summer, addressed holistic health with two pillars: health education, and we did a workshop on psychosocial support activities. With health education, our main goal was to correct the myths about COVID-19, like COVID doesn't exist. COVID was brought to you by white people. Wealthy people are only saying this because they want to get money from Gates and people like that. We also did masks, and we hired women to make thousands of masks which we distributed to the community, and they were made to WHO standards. We installed 5 hand washing stations in public spaces, and we paid workers to deliver water, and we trained how to wash their hands properly. And the workshop for psychosocial support activities was based on Dr. Judy's toolbox from interventions she has involved herself with worldwide to promote resilience. Some particularly important and also groundbreaking elements of this project included developing 2 culturally appropriate infographics, visually showing the sanitation measures and the psychosocial activities. We did this in English and in Swahili. We partnered with local team on the ground.
30 seconds.
Extensive outcome assessment before and after the intervention, and then 6 weeks later. The results just analyzed show an amazing, impressive outcome with statistically significant improvements in all health and psychosocial items. These are supported by reports from community leaders about the value of the intervention. Now, we're being asked by the community to develop another program for them, and we are in the act of doing so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gordon, for all of that. It's very appropriate now that we show you a very short video about voices from the field that you will hear from the real people, from the Congo that we just heard the project about, also people speaking about India that we're going to hear a presentation about. We have 2 other short voices of the field to go to in Nepal and India. And so here's what people have to say from their hearts and what they're going through.
ऑक्सीजन तक नहीं, यहाँ पर हमने कहा यहाँ पर लिटा कर आप जो है ऑक्सीजन दे दो, कोई नहीं सुना, दवाई तक लिखने के लिए तैयार नहीं हुआ।
Body after body being brought into this crematorium in India's national capital, New Delhi, that has seen a huge surge, not only in cases, but in fatalities as well.
Brazil's Amazonas region may be very isolated, but people there are facing the same problem as everyone else around the world. They haven't been spared from the coronavirus pandemic.
A gente pensa naquela família que está sofrendo.
Experts say the causes of the new surge are myriad: a more transmissible variant, few vaccines, relaxed lockdowns. No matter the cause, these are the effects.
With COVID nearly 3 times more deadly in Black and Latino communities.
Is coronavirus real?
My simple answer to that question, is COVID-19 a scam? The answer is no, definitely not a scam. COVID-19 is a real disease.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how afraid of COVID-19 are you?
9.
You don't enough.
8. Oui, c'est 10, le plus haut.
How has COVID-19 affected you or your community?
Assim, eu fico muito chateada, triste, porque depende de muita gente, negros e pobres, assim, depende de condução, vai em ônibus, é metrô, é tudo.
Ile ya corona tuitaki tena juu hizi makashi zinatusumbua sana, atutoke atwende sababu mtu atezenda Rwanda atwende wanatusumbua sema makashi tunao mikono, hapana, sisi tushakatala, tushachukia vile tu sana.
Sisi tuharibishia kazi sana juu kazi haiendeke tena mzuri, hatuzishe na kumafete hatuende tena kome ilifogisi tulikuwa nenda kumafete mbele.
En tant que personnel soignant dans cette population sous-informée, nous ne recevons plus des malades puisqu'ils ont peur d'attraper le coronavirus à l'hôpital et deuxièmement, ils ont peur d'être vaccinés contre le Covid.
কিন্তু আমি ওনাদেরকে বলি বারবার যে দেখুন এখনো কিন্তু এটা মানুষের মধ্যে থেকে আপনারা হয়তো আতঙ্ক পাচ্ছেন, কিন্তু এটা কোনো আতঙ্কের বিষয় নয়। আপনারা সেফ ডিসটেন্সে থাকুন, যতটা মাস্ক ইউজ করুন, স্যানিটাইজার ইউজ করুন এবং মেন যেটা ওনাদের মধ্যে থেকে ভয় ভীতি আতঙ্কটাকে কাটাতে হবে।
What are your fears about the vaccine?
Je crains surtout les effets secondaires tels que les thrombovenèses dont on nous parle.
Will you take the vaccine?
And there is no way, as long as I'm living,
then my children are going to be injected with that.
Even more serious problem among communities of color, vaccine hesitancy.
No, I want to receive that vaccine. Non, je ne suis pas sûr avec le vaccin du Covid.
Oui à la vaccination.
Oui, si c'est nécessaire, je vais prendre.
É muito importante para que todo mundo que se tiver essa oportunidade de tomar essa vacina.
Tomei a primeira dose, estou ansiosa para tomar a segunda dose, porque eu acho que é a única forma das pessoas, de todos nós, nos prevenirmos contra isso.
Avant, on avait beaucoup de doutes. Mais quand j'ai vu les présidents américains se vacciner, européens, j'ai vu toutes les grandes personnalités qui ont pris le vaccin. Vraiment, j'ai eu confiance et moi-même, je me suis vaccinée.
Well, we can see that people around the world are all experiencing the similar conflicts and similar issues, but someone who is really doing something about it in our Voices from the Field, bless you, from Nepal, my dear friend, Dr. Kamal Gautam, whose transcultural psychosocial organization, Nepal, is doing brilliant, innovative, multi-stakeholder outreach to the community and health workers he's going to tell you about. Thank you, Dr. Gautam.
So thank you, Professor Judy. So thank you, Professor Judy, and the sponsors and the co-sponsors. So Nepal is a low-income country situated in South Asia, and which harbors almost 30 million population. And while mental, neurological, and substance use disorders are the leading causes of disability worldwide, more than 90% of people with mental health conditions do not receive any treatment in Nepal. And with the onset of COVID-19 in Nepal, the health system has been overwhelmed, and the people have been deprived of physical and mental health treatment, and the mental health treatment gap has been increasing. So in order to fill that treatment gap and render mental health and psychosocial support responses to people affected by COVID-19, we initiated a multi-sectoral stakeholder program to provide the MHPSS support in collaboration with a number of non-government organizations, the Ministry of Health and Population, and Professor Judy Kuriansky and the International Association of Applied Psychology. And initially, we worked with the Ministry of Health and Population, where we drafted a COVID-19 mental health and psychosocial support response and preparedness framework. And we provided technical assistance to the Ministry of Health and Population to develop and roll out the psychological first aid, stress management, and grief counseling to frontline health workers so that they could help them and their peers with providing MHPSS support and also grief counseling during COVID-19, while they could also provide this support to patients who visited the health facilities. And then we trained on the health workers, the social service providers, and the frontline workers on number of mental health and psychosocial support trainings. And we also conducted a number of webinars focusing the government health workers, the community leaders, and the community people, including the service providers, so that they are psychoeducated on the impacts of COVID-19 and what they could really do in daily lives to prevent the mental health conditions. Second, we provided services to people across 75 out of 7 districts in Nepal. We extended our helpline services and provided telemental health services to people free of cost. So 7 days a week, starting from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. in the evening. And we provided individual as well as group interventions, which are based on basically in-depth psychosocial assessment and including the psychological treatments. And we also conducted our research on the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the Nepalese population, including the status of suicide during the COVID-19 pandemic in Nepal. And followed by this, we advocated with the government, the ministries, to mainstream the mental health and psychosocial support response into the system, and also translated and adapted a number of global documents which could be used in Nepal. And lastly, we provided technical assistance to the Ministry of Health and Population in finalizing the National Mental Health Strategy and Action Plan, which has been planned to be scaled up for the next 5 years from the date. And we aim to contribute to the 5 Sustainable Development Goals through these programs, basically SDG 3, 4, 5, 11, and 17. So thank you.
Come on, that is brilliant, Kamal. Really an amazing model that we'll learn more about and that needs to be scaled. Our hearts go out to neighboring India, meanwhile, experiencing this new wave, but thank goodness there are innovations that are being done by companies like iCure, we're now going to hear about. They're taking a very hybrid outreach program using technology and in-person connection. iCure, by the way, is a favored innovation on the platform I co-founded called Health in Your Hands, which is part of the SDGs in Action initiative of the United Arab Emirates. So over to you, iCure founder and CEO, Sujay Santra, for your wonderful work.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Dr. Judy, the sponsors and the co-sponsors for these wonderful insights about this today's topic. In September 2020, when India started seeing a decline of the novel coronavirus, we all thought that we are done with the virus. And in March 2021, when we were hit by the COVID second wave, we all saw that how devastating the COVID has been for a country like India. While the major focus has been for the metros and the tier 1 cities, it was the rural population and the semi-urban people who have been greatly devastated. The problems were many. The problems were ranging from the myths and the misinformation related to the COVID pandemic, the skewed healthcare infrastructure between the semi-urban and the urban and the rural areas, as well as whenever the patients or their family members were getting positive, they were being outcasted by the community. So the patients really had to deal with the problems of not only the clinical challenges, but also the mental challenges that they had to go through. So here came the iCure's frontline health workers who were able to provide a combination of a physical and digital health services, ranging from the aided telemedicine by providing the technology solutions such as app, the medical equipment, as well as the different essential supplies such as medicines and other equipments, and also being with the community by providing different kinds of mental and the awareness related solutions. So what is iCure? iCure is a population health management company that is providing affordable and accessible primary health care to the community using technology. So till date, we have touched 12 million people across 8 states in India. Apart from India, we are also present in 9 countries in Africa. We have recently started our work in the MENA countries, starting with Jordan, as well as we have treated 2.5 million patients, underserved patients till date. So here's a short snippet about our musical concert, which we recently conducted. We all understand that how music can be one of the biggest healers for the people and the communities during these difficult times. So here at iCure, we have conducted a musical concert, and the whole objective was that how you'll be able to be with the community. And when we conducted this, we saw overwhelming support from 35 artists who were able to contribute through music, dance, poetry from around 5 countries across the world. So here's a quick snippet about the work.
Ten seconds.
Thanks a lot for the overwhelming support. Thank you.
That was brilliant, truly. Sujay, thank you for all that wonderful work, and scaling it up to countries around the world is very important. And so to digest all these riches as we end here, I pass to Dr. Christine Roland-Levy, social psychology professor, coming to us from Paris. We've been all over the world. President of the NGO I proudly represent at the UN, the International Association of Applied Psychology. And in that role, she supported all the advocacy that we do at the UN regarding health and mental health equity. So bless you, Christine. I noticed you have your Order of the Psalms medal bestowed by France to distinguished professors, which you've earned, originally established by Napoleon. Over to you, Christine.
Thank you so much, Judy. So it is clear from today that despite the ongoing pandemic, this event can leave us with hope. As we heard commitments from governments and impressive projects by civil society to achieve equity to health and mental health that is so important for the recovery. We have seen today that we have much to learn from each other, that the contribution of psychologists combined with the on-the-ground experience can be of great benefit for all. A takeaway message is that physical and mental health equity, along with well-being, are crucial in order to achieve the UN SDGs. And today we have seen from the presentations of all these governments, experts, and people in the field that SDG 17 about multi-stakeholder partnership is indeed happening and offering that hope. In that regard, I thank the United Nations missions represented here. Indeed, the ambassadors and representatives have shown strong commitment to health and mental health equity. Much gratitude to the permanent mission of the United Nations of the Republic of Sierra Leone as our main sponsor. With such an impressive group of co-sponsors from so many parts of the world, Bahrain, Canada, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Georgia, Iceland, Japan, Lebanon, Mali, Mexico, Nepal, Portugal, Qatar, and Sweden. With support of such governments, we in the civil society are inspired to continue our work. We are further grateful for the support and co-sponsorship of the World Health Organization, who among so many contributions has firmly supported mental health on an equal par with physical health. As president of the International Association of Applied Psychology, as we know, a co-sponsor of this event, I express sincere appreciation to my colleagues in the American Psychological Association, without forgetting Ellen, Amanda, and Gabe, and the United African Congress, and especially Gordon. I'm convinced that the array of experiences and commitments to health and mental health shared today will help our world recover and build back better after COVID-19. For a world with more fairness, more justice, that leaves no one behind. We all deserve a world of health equity. Thank you for making this session a very stimulating one. And before closing, I wish to include my personal thanks to our moderator, Dr. Judy. Thank you so much. And without all of you, this would not have been possible, Judy included. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Oh, Christine, I see your circle. That is, Christine's wearing the pin for the Sustainable Development Goals, that circle pin. How wonderful. That was a perfect wrap up for everything that we've heard. And indeed, we're blessed to have the main sponsorship of Sierra Leone, to the mission of Sierra Leone to the UN, and all those other missions that have spoke so eloquently, and the experts and the voices from the field, and all our help behind the scenes. And indeed, mostly to Jennifer Kelly, kudos, clap. We have a standing ovation, Dr. Kelly, because you were the inspiration for this in your presidential initiative about health equity. Look what you have created. We are all in it for you. So thank you all very much. And to our ongoing collaborations. Namaste.